UK के ज़ेर-ए-एहतमाम मीरपुर आज़ाद कश्मीर में गूंगे और बहरे बच्चों की मुफ्त तालीम व तरबियत का इदारा कश्मीर इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ स्पेशल एजुकेशन कायस आपके ताउन का तलबगार अंसारी वेलफेयर ट्रस्ट UK बाखले बैंक सोड कोड 201188 अकाउंट नंबर 50877735 वेबसाइट awtuk.org वसीम द टाबा ताजा समोसा चाट फ्रूट चाट दही बल्ले गोलगप्पे सब्ज़ चाह ते पहली वारी आलम रॉक रोड तो ताजा गनिया दा जूस जी हाँ ताजा गनिया दा जूस वसीम द टाबा आउटसाइड लॉर्ड पिज़्ज़ा 32 Alam Rock Road telephone number 0784642895 Wasim the Taba
radioarchivas.co.uk bringing communities together through interfaith and social cohesion specialist shows.
क्या आप परेशान ज़दा वालिदैन हैं या समझते हैं कि कोरोना जो आलमी वबा भी है ने आपके बच्चे की पढ़ाई पर असर किया है तो परेशान मत हो जो कि राइजिंग स्टार अकेडमी अपने नाम की तरह पहचान भी रखता है वो वालिदैन जिनकी आमदनी कम है कि अच्छी तरीके से मदद भी कर सकता है राइजिंग स्टार अकेडमी में अपने बेहतरीन सहूलतों के साथ मुनज़्ज़म क्लासों में पढ़ाई की कमी पूरी करने वाले लेसन्स दिए जाते हैं सिर्फ स्कूल के दौरान ही नहीं बल्कि छुट्टियों में भी मुख्तलिफ एक्टिविटीज़ की जाती हैं जिनमें घुड़सवारी तीरंदाजी बॉलिंग और भी बहुत कुछ सिखाया जाता है ये लेसन्स अमाना सेंटर में तजुर्बाकार असातिज़ा की निगरानी में दिए जाते हैं इसके अलावा 11+ सैट्स और GCSE पर भी खास तवज्जो दी जाती है ताकि आपके बच्चे का मुस्तकबिल संवर सके सिर्फ यही नहीं बल्कि हफ्ते के दौरान प्राइमरी स्कूल के बच्चों को भी बूस्टर क्लासेस दी जाती हैं ताकि उनकी पढ़ाई में भी कोई फर्क न आए इस सहूलत से फ़ायदा उठाने के लिए हमारी वेबसाइट risingstaracademy.org.uk पर जाएं या फ़ोन नंबर 0121227190 पर हमसे राब्ता करें शुक्रिया
Assalamualaikum. Good evening and welcome to the Community Wellbeing Show. My name is Mohammed Amin, your host tonight, and I'm standing in for my colleague, Mr. Ali. Whilst I obviously can't step in the shoes of legendary Mr. Ali, I will try and make sure we entertain, engage and cover all of our viewers and listeners tonight. And I've got a couple of guests on my program tonight, and we will make sure that you will be educated and enlightened with all the viewers and listeners. Please come into my program and please make some comments on Facebook. Any comments that you make, we'll read them out to you as well. Before we start my program, as you're well aware, COVID-19 is a big issue in the community. Please make sure you stay safe and follow the guidance that is given to you regarding COVID-19. And please make sure that all the appropriate precautions are taken place. This program will be split into 2 sessions. My first guest will be Mohammed Arif, and we will be talking about a badminton tournament with a charitable reasoning behind it. Without further ado, let's move on to my distinguished guest and welcome Arif Bhai Saab to my studio. Assalamualaikum ji. शुक्रिया तुसां की असली ना मैं पता है कि टाइम ने पाबंदी है पर माशाल्लाह तुसां जड़ा ना शामी आज काम ही करना है तो माशाल्लाह तुसां असां की जड़ा ना अपना कीमती टाइम दे रही हो कि कम्युनिटी की वही इंफॉर्मेशन पहुंचाई रही हो कि तुसां क्या कर रही हो अच्छा तुसां ना जड़ा ना जड़ी टूर्नामेंट है थोड़ी उसकी में की मालूमात हो जी
औज़ुबिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम सबसे पहले जितने भी आवाज़ रेडियो सुनने वाले हैं उन्हें मैं सलाम पेश करना और आवाज़ रेडियो ने बड़ा मशहूर हाँ जो आज मैंने मौका दिता अमीन साहब दा कराम साहब दा और मोहम्मद अली साहब दा तो एक ऐसी कम्यूनिटी रेडियो है जिस सब कुछ एक्सप्लोर ही सकना जेह्ड़े मैसेज क्रॉस जेह्ड़े कम्युनिटी इशू असां इक ना तोड़ कश करना इन सब जोड़ा मैं ताई मशहूर हूँ इन्हें खराज तशीफ पेश करना जेह्ड़ा इस सिलसिले च इस अपनी कम्युनिटी की सारी रेपुटेशन अपनी लैंग्वेज और इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज होई सकनी है जहाँ तक इत्थै वा कि जेह्ड़ा मैं लाइव विशन मकसद सी ते मैं एह् एक्सप्लोर करना चाहसां असां ने कि जेह्ड़ा डडियाल फ्री डायलिसिस सेंटर है उसने विच जेह्ड़ा मुफ्त गरीबां दा इलाज होई रेहा उस हवाले नाल असां एक चैरिटी डडियाल वेलफेयर UK ट्रस्ट बनाई है जिसदे च ओह् चैरिटी रजिस्टर शुदा है उसनूं अवेयरनेस असां तां देना चाहने आं कि असां एक स्पोर्ट ने हवाले नाल उसकी हाई तादाद ते उसकी एक्सप्लोर करना चाहने हैं कि लोकें अवेयरनेस वै कि इस मुल्क च रही ते भी असन दिल नहीं लगी जेह्ड़े अपने उस भैना भ्रा मुल्खां ने जेह्ड़े मस्तरीन जेह्ड़े इलाज नहीं कराई सकने हैं इस टूर्नामेंट ने बारे च मैं तुसेंगी डीपली दस्सां इस साल तकरीबन अज 12 साल चलना आया अंडर द बैनर ऑफ हार्ट एंड बैडमिंटन क्लब जिसका मैं खुद बानी सा और इसने जी असानी जहाँ तक असां इसी एक्सप्लोर करने पूरे UK च स्पोर्ट ने वाले नाल भी अस को 50 टीमां पूरे UK च आई दियां इस टूर्नामेंट खेल खेलने वास्ते उसने असां मुख्तलिफ फीसां भी रखियां मुख्तलिफ कैटेगरी भी रखियां जिस मोल ने मसला खिलाड़ी है उसके उस कैटेगरी च बने तो उस लिहाजे नाल जेह्ड़ा इस स्पोर्ट ना करने ना एह् मकसद सी कि अज मैं लाइव एक्शन जिन्हें बड़ा मशहूर हाँ रेडियो आवाज़ ने जिन्हें भी मौका दिता कि तको जी तुसां जितनी भी डोनेशन देसो इस असां ने क्लब दे थ्रू एह् तुसां एक अच्छे कोर्स जासन साढ़े बानी जेह्ड़े को फाउंडर इस डडियाल UK वेल ट्रस्ट डायलिसिस सेंटर ने चौधरी मंजूर साहब वो लंडन होने उन्होंने बड़ा किरदार आ उन्होंने कि असां जितना भी असां शुक्रगुजार करना कम है उस तो बाद साढ़े वैकना माड़े बड़े भाई भी हैं राजा प्रवेश जफर साहब वो भी बड़ा एक इंतहाई बड़ा कम करी रहे जिसने भी है वैकना ये गरीबां वास्ते जेह्ड़ा ना कोर्स वास्ते तो असां तो बड़े खुशकिस्मत इस मुल्खा च जेह्ड़ा असां की NHS दबनी है असां इस ट्रीटमेंट होने तो असां मुल्खा च को गुरबत है इस इलाज ना गरीब कहता है नहीं करी सकना सा अपना इलाज और असां इसकी स्पोर्ट ने वाले इतना करने चाहने हैं कि असां अखने बंदे इस स्पोर्ट च अच्छन इस फील्ड सारे अच्छन असां को कोच भी हैं असां ट्रेनिंग भी देसां और जेह्ड़े बच्चे अजकल साढ़े इस गलत लैन ते पेदे उसगी भी असें फायदा उसी कि अच्छी स्पोर्ट च मुजाहरा करन अपना नाम ही अपना हाई लेवल ते खड़न इस स्पोर्ट ने वाले नाल तो इसने च है कि मैं जितने भी माड़े इस रेडियो आवाज़ सुनने आह्ले हो जित्थे दी आवाज़ साढ़ा कोई ना तुसां इसकी करना जाई सकने हो YouTube पर चेक करी सकने हो एक ट्रस्ट किस तरह कम करी रही है और असां इतना हार्ड वर्क करने असां एक उस मुल्क दे खादम हो कि असां चाहने साढ़ी कम्युनिटी जी साढ़े अपने तहसील डडियाल विच है असां ना ये सेंटर जेह्ड़ा फ्री डायलिसिस ना ये खाली एक ज़ात कश्मीर च बहुत आला है इवन पाकिस्तान ने जेह्ड़ा अस्पताल भी पैह्ले इत्थै ट्रीटमेंट हाई लेवल ना और मैं तुसें यकीन दिलाई सकना कि साढ़े को पठवार खित्ते जो बंदा कुसै हिस्से पाकिस्तान जो गरीब बंदे ये है असां उसकी फ्री इलाज करने पर तैयार है कि असां ये उम्मीद है कि असां चाहने हैं कि असां ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा हाईलाइट करां बंदे की अवेयरनेस है कि असां इदारा चलां इस असां को 16 मशीनां उत्थै चलियां पियां 2 शिफ्टां लईयां पियां जेह्ड़ियां उत्थै साढ़े ट्रेन स्टाफ है जेह्ड़ा मसलन उन्हें जेह्ड़ा ट्रीटमेंट करनी है और हर जेह्ड़ा सैशन तो बाद 5.5 घंटे का सैशन होना उसने जेह्ड़ा शिफ्ट होनी है उस बाद 1.5 घंटा मशीनी सफाई होनी है और नैक्सट जी पेशेंट उन्होंने वास्ते तो और इस मैं तुसें चाहना कि असें तुसें सपोर्ट करो डोनेशन करो कोई भी करो फीस बिल्ला सदका जारिया तो तुसां असां ताउन करो और इस स्पोर्ट ने जी है 19 तारीख संडे है असां 100 किन्नी राती 11 जी उत्थे ही हाँ 50 टीमां मुजाहरा तो मैं खुद आपू जड़ा ना D कैटेगरी खेल रहा तो मेरा बेटा चौधरी जीस है वो टॉप लेवल खिलाड़ी है उस टूर्नामेंट आज़ाद कश्मीर इस्लामाबाद जी जुती है वा और इंग्लैंड जी जुती है और बेल्जियम जुती है वा तो इंशाल्लाह असां उसकी दावत भी देने उत्थै शिरकत भी करो तो जितना हो सकना इस दारे ताउन करो कि असां उन्हें भैना भ्राने मुल्खा च बहुत बड़ी खिदमत कर सकां
शुक्रिया जी तुसां दा मैं सवाल जवाब पुछना होना तो माशाल्लाह तुसां सारा कवर करी रहा कि एह् टूर्नामेंट है जी है ना डडियाल UK वेलफेयर ट्रस्ट करी रही है तो तुसां आखनी हो कि भाई कैटेगरी D भी है जेह्ड़े प्लास्टिक शटल टीम वास्ते है जी कैटेगरी A है वो फेदर्स शटल है जो बैडमिंटन कहने उन्हें पता है टर्मिनोलॉजी में जी इस्तेमाल करने तो सारा जड़ा ना इसने सारा जड़ा तुसां रेज करसो माशाल्लाह सारी चैरिटी वास्ते है तुसां ऑलरेडी डायलिसिस ने बारे विच गल कीती है ते ब्लड ट्रांसफ्यूजन ने बारे विच तुसां मैंशन कीता है ते जेह्ड़ा तुसां बेवा औरतां की भी जेह्ड़ा राशन भी देने हो उसने थोड़े उस पासा थोड़ा करो
उसदे च एह् है कि जेह्ड़ा खाली इस इलाज वास्ते असें इंटरस्ट नहीं है इज बियॉन्ड दैट
अच्छा
जहाँ तक जित्थै तक ओह् मसरीन मसलन बेवा औरतां होनियां कोई मकान ने मसला बनना उ'नेंगी राशन भी बनना ओह् भी अस प्रोवाइड करने कि असां एक्चुअल मकसद ये है कि इस तरह सना कि असें इसकी जेह्ड़ा ना जितना असें मदद होई सकै गरीब वाम नहीं उ'नेंगी जेह्ड़ा ना सारे पता साढ़े मुल्क ने हालात क्या है तुसां भी मीन साहब अपने उस इलाके तलकड़े मेरे पर ने ते साढ़ा दारा बहुत अच्छा कहमा बहुत अच्छा कम्म करी रहा ते इसने च मैं कहना मैं ये मैसेज पूरा करसां कि असां इस मुल्का रहने असां उन्हें ये खिदमत कर सकां मैं अपनी बड़ी खुशकिस्मती समझना कि ये ऑर्गेनाइज करने से कोई थोड़ा नहीं है बड़ा टाइम लगना तो इसकी जेकर अच्छन भी बंदे तकन भी तो तकी भी तकन वाकई मैं कहना जेह्ड़ा स्पोर्ट ने हवाले नाल पिछले साल जो असें मुजाहरा कीता सा तो मीन साहब असां 8,000 पाउंड इसने थ्रू रेज कीता सा इंशाल्लाह जिन्हों भी मैं सब तो पहला मशहूर हाँ जेह्ड़े हमारे दोस्त माई फैमिली जिन्होंने इस नाल ताउन कीता और जितने हमारे स्पॉन्सर हैं क्योंकि स्पॉन्सर बगैर इवेंट नहीं चली सकना उन्हें बड़ी अपनी जेह्ड़ा ना खुशकिस्मती नाल बड़ी जेह्ड़ा ताद नाल उन्होंने हमारा ताउन कीता असली च टूर्नामेंट जी असें रखी गई है ये चैरिटी बैडमिंटन मेमोरियल चौधरी अरशद के बारे की है वो एक मेरे मामू साहब भाई से बेचारे फोर्थ गए पिछले साल उन्होंने इस दायरे ने बड़ा तावन उसी वजह से उन्होंने नाइन यदाश साढ़े स्वाब से टूर्नामेंट रखी है तो इंशाल्लाह जिन्होंने भी सारा जरा जिस तरह जही स्पॉन्सर थ्रू बड़ा अच्छा भाई कहना जरा ना मजारा उसी है भाई कहना तो प्लस डोनेशन भी अच्छी उसी है
अच्छा व्यूअर्स एंड लिसनर्स अगर भाई गल करी रहे भाई अरफ गल करी रहे कि जी टूर्नामेंट है जी इस जरा इतवार है जरा 19th of September ये उसी एक वजह शुरू उसी इसना वेन्यू जरा ना सा मेंशन कोई किया Lighthole School, Hathaway Road in Solihull. Lighthole School, Hathaway Road in Solihull. Postcode B90 2PZ. Start will be at 1 p.m. and there will be approximately 50 teams taking part. Anybody can enter, and the whole idea of the tournament is to raise funds for the Dadial UK Welfare Trust. Category 3 entry for plastic shuttles will be £30 per team. Feather shuttles will be £40 per team. And the whole idea of these tournaments are the Category D tournament will start about 12:30 in the afternoon, and Category A will start at 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and they are going to carry on into the well hours of the evening until about 11 o'clock Sunday, inshallah, 11 o'clock Sunday evening. So there you are. You headed here, and please support this worthy cause. Furthermore, let me repeat the venue again. The venue is Lighthole School, Hathaway Road in Solihull, postcode B90 2PZ. If anybody needs any further information, any further details, I have the information here at the studio. Please contact the studio number on 07944 808 141, and inshallah we'll pass the information on to you. As the brother has just been telling me, that this has been a very, very popular tournament, especially last year, and just this one tournament, they raised about £8,000 for this charity, for this wealthy cause. But what you got to understand is, it's not just this tournament. This charity raises money throughout the year, and any donation, any sadaqah that you wanted to give, obviously contact the charity. If you need further information, please contact the studio. Acha, bhai ji, tusa jehड़ा ना quick ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਨਾ ਸਮਰੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦਿਓ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਸ਼ਕੂਰ ਆ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਆਪਣਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀਮਤੀ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਫਿਰ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਆਪਣੀ ਜ਼ਬਾਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੈਨਿਊ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਲੋਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦਈਓ ਜੀ
ਅਸਲੀ ਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਮਜ਼ਾਰਾ ਹੋਈ ਰਿਹਾ ਇਸ ਯੂਕੇ ਡਿਆਲ ਵਾਲਾ ਟਰਸਟ ਇਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੀਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਅਸਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕੈਟੇਗਰੀਆਂ ਦੋ ਹੀ ਫੁੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਆ
ਮਾਸ਼ਾਅੱਲਾ
इतना इंटरेस्ट है इस गेम कि भाई कहना असों को वेटी जिस तरह टीमां पेइयां पियां कि असों को इतना टाइम नहीं है जो अस शेड्यूल करना पड़ा सारा एक बीच रखना लेकिन असों को 8 टीमां रिजर्व विच पेइयां या वेटिंग से टू पार्टिसिपेट कि असां 5 टीमां वाई जरा असां पूरा टाइम कवर कर सका तो ऐसा को 16 टीमां इसलिए एज कि उसने भी जिस लोकेशन रखी हुई है उसने जी बेटी पी है तो इतना इतने इंटरेस्ट सा गेम वाले नाल भी दूआ जड़ा बंदे इतना कंट्रीब्यूशन टू द फीस करने हर बंदे की कंट्रीब्यूशन उत्तर सकती है तो मैं इन सारे की भी दावत खिताब देना कि तुम अच्छो लाइट स्कूल सालियुल हैथवे रोड पे शेयरली पोस्ट कोड जरा B92ZP असा शुरू कर तकरीबन 1 बजे जरा प्रोग्राम इसना असा रात 11 नहीं उठाई है क्योंकि असा पूरी कंप्लीट करनी है फाइनल तक सारे चीफ गेस्ट जड़े चौधरी मंजूर साहब राजा परवेज अहमद साहब मंजूर साहब लंडन से आए रहे अजी फ्री साहब लंडन और भी जड़े इस दायरे ने जड़े मेन बानी हैं वो भी जरा मौजूद सन मैं उसकी किताब किताब देना मेहरबानी करी टाइम कड्डो ये कंट्रीब्यूशन दे सकें ये मोर वेलकम टू असा यूट्यूब पर भी हाँ असा फेसबुक पर भी हाँ मैं सुन बड़ा मशहूर हाँ रेडियो बाज ने जब सुन टाइम दिता आई अप्रिशिएट इट बिकॉज दिस इज अ वर्दी कोर्स थैंक यू It represents all our brothers and back in India which can't even afford no basic treatment. So through this we go behind as well. All I can send the message is please come down and donate to us. Thank you very much.
Once again, Bubu Shukriya to Sana Studio. Now, viewers and listeners, we've covered the first part of our program. Inshallah, after the break, if you give me a couple of minutes, we'll cover the second part of our show this evening, and we'll be talking about a very interesting health topic as well. So if you just bear with me, we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Ramsam. We appreciate that.
www.aapkiawaaz.co.uk, also on Radio Garden app.
इंसारी वेलफेयर ट्रस्ट यूके के ज़ेर एहतमाम मीरपुर आज़ाद कश्मीर में गूंगे और बहरे बच्चों की मुफ्त तालीम व तरबियत का इदारा कश्मीर इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ स्पेशल एजुकेशन कायस आपके ताउन का तलबगार अंसारी वेलफेयर ट्रस्ट यूके बाखले बैंक सोट कोड 201188 अकाउंट नंबर 50877735 वेबसाइट awtuk.org वसीम द ढाबा ताज़ा समोसा चाट फ्रूट चाट दही बल्ले गोलगप्पे सब्ज़ चाह ते पहली बारी आलम रॉक रोड तो ताज़ा गनिया दा जूस जी हाँ ताज़ा गनिया दा जूस वसीम द ढाबा outside Lahore Pizza 32 Alam Rock Road telephone number 07846428 Wasim the Taba.
RadioArchivaus.co.uk, bringing communities together through interfaith and social cohesion specialist shows.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my second part of the Community Health Show. I'm your host this evening, Mohammed Amin, and I'm stopping in for my colleague Mohammed Ali, or Mr. Ali, who sends his apologies today. Whilst I can never step in Mr. Ali's position, the legendary man himself will no doubt will be back next week, but I'll try and make sure I'll educate you, enlighten you, and give you some information on something that's quite prominent in our community with my guest here. Before I go on to my guest, just need to mention a few people. Amjad Mirza Sahab, thank you very much for watching my program. Shabazz, thank you very much for watching my program. Mohammed Ishfaq, thank you very much for watching our program. Chaudhry Arif Dar, thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate you guys. And Mr. Ali, thank you very much. Really appreciated you just checking up on me. MashaAllah, thank you very much. I've got Zohib in the studio here, and we will have our conversation with Zohib in the studio this evening. Zohib, Assalamu alaikum, welcome to our show. Thank you very much. Legendary Mr. Ali sends his apologies, but inshallah I'll try and see if we can try and fit his shoes. Obviously I can't take his position, but I'll do my best as I can, mashallah.
Well, first of all, alaikum salam. Thank you for inviting me on the show today, and as I say, Mr. Ali, if you're listening, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on today, and hopefully people can take some inspiration from some of the stuff I'll be showing tonight.
Thank you very much. Now, one of the things that is quite an issue in all communities, but especially our Asian community, is the issue of mental health. It's commonly known as the silent killer, and very, very difficult to identify. More importantly, it relies on the individual coming forward. So what can we do all about it, and how can we highlight that issue?
Well, firstly, mental health is so broad, and I do believe, particularly in our community, it's something that's generally kind of swept under the carpet, or people maybe don't have a full, wide understanding of it. So when I think of mental health, I think of it as being a challenge in your mind, and that can be any challenge. I think we're faced with challenges, every day, aren't we, in our lives, whether it's family, professional, business, career, it can be anything. But to brush it under the carpet and to not address it, in my opinion, only makes it worse. And if you don't actually kind of highlight it, if you do nothing about it, essentially what you're doing is you're almost carrying it around with you all the time. And that's a very difficult state of mind to be in. So my interpretation and the way that I've almost gone through experiences is to always think, never let something kind of build up, never let it just slide, don't just ignore it, do something about it. And actually you don't know that you actually don't know sometimes the potential of what might happen if you address it at that stage.
I know, and also it's something that, for example, let's say I suffer from it, but I've got to actually realize that that's the issue that I'm suffering from, and I've got to be brave enough and to open enough and ask for that help. And half of the problem is, firstly, we don't identify that we have that problem, and sometimes you don't self-identify. But if other people make comments about you, and then you think, well, wait a minute, why are they making? You take it too personal, and then before you know it, you're like isolated and you're secluding yourself. So again, that's why it's come as a hidden killer, because you isolate yourself and move away from the problem.
Yeah, essentially what you're doing is you're almost submerging it. You're accepting it for what it is, rather than thinking, well, actually, there's a solution, there's a way out. There is something I can do to actually tackle the problem, rather than living with it. Because living with it is like, as you said, it's a silent killer.
Yeah.
And the long-term effects of it is going to be a lot more damaging than not doing anything at all. I think people are afraid to tackle the problem head on, and they'd rather not go through the kind of the stage of actually doing anything about it. So they'd rather just let it be, accept it. Oh, it's okay, doesn't matter, I'll leave it. But from my own experiences, and I have got real life experiences of this, that actually finding help and seeking the right help has been instrumental in my personal development.
MashaAllah. I just pick up a few points as we have our conversation, because I don't want to make sure that our guests are left out and they take part in this program. Vikash Mohan, he says, great point, Zoe. Well said. We do ignore this as Asians, and like I said to you in the opening, that's something our Asians say. No, we don't suffer from anxiety and depression. Anxiety and depression doesn't exist in the Asian community. And Sarah English, she says, well done.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Sarah.
Simone Summers, she goes, great and important topic. Thank you, Simone. Really appreciate you joining our program.
Simone from Denmark, by the way.
Bless you. There you are. You see, Simone, there you are. Thank you very much. Hope you understand my Brummie English. And thank you very much for taking the time out this evening and joining us. If there's any other comments, please make them. I'll keep my eye on the Facebook page while we're having our discussion this evening. And it's one of these topics that unless you identify, unless you address the issue becomes a serious issue, and then along the line, certain people can get hurt, certain extended member families can get hurt, certain extended colleagues at work get hurt, your attitude to others can get hurt. So what do you do when it's all blowing up and I think, right, I can't handle it anymore? I want to switch off from the rest of the world. What do you do?
Yeah, and so I'm going to share something personal here, and I'll try not to go too deep into it, but I'd say about 8 years ago, I was dealing with pressure in my personal life, I just started a new job. Working with family, that wasn't adding the pressure.
Family's always a pressure.
People are going to think, my God, I get it now. But actually, it was a build-up of several things, and in my mind, what was happening was I was never resting. I was never able to relax. I was constantly anxious. I was depressed. I was, like you said, I was not hitting out at people, but I felt sudden mood swings. It really created a negative energy inside me, and other people felt it, and other people maybe wanted to keep the distance from me, and as a human being, you don't want that. You want to attract positivity, you want to attract good people around you. And if what's happening is, if those people are distancing themselves, or you even feel within yourself that you're losing your identity, and that's a really big word here, and like I said, like, somebody who specializes in branding as well, identity to me is huge.
It's a huge.
But we're talking about personal identity, like, in terms of our personas. So what I did was I thought, right, okay, I've got a problem, and what do I do? Do I just ignore it, or do I get some professional help? And actually, this is the first time on I have my own podcast, but this is the first time on a live stream show which I've ever shared this story.
Right.
And if anyone has any questions or comments about it, please do come in.
Just before you share the story, Sarah English has said, as a long-time sufferer of depression, this is such an important topic, and so many men suffer in silence. I'm glad now that the media is now focusing on tackling the stigma attached to it. And I know through many people in my network and in my extended work environment, extended friendship environment, that there are so many people who are suffering.
Yes.
But it's again, going back to my opening statement, it's a silent killer.
Absolutely.
And they suffer in silence, and they don't want to talk about it. So as you said, you want to share your personal experience.
So as I mentioned, and it's a very personal story for me, where I one day just thought, right, okay, I've just had enough. And everyone has a threshold.
Yeah.
Everyone has a breaking point.
Yeah.
Everyone comes to a limit where they think, right, I cannot do this anymore. You can be, just because somebody asks for, and this is one of the biggest points about this is, just because you ask for help, just because you seek professional advice, doesn't make you weak.
That's right.
And that's the biggest misinterpretation that people have, where they think, well, I don't want to ask for help because all of a sudden, oh, I'm not strong enough, or oh, what are the people going to say about me? And particularly in the Asian community, it's a bit like
that cry for help is a massive achievement for somebody to actually own up to that. I've got a problem,
absolutely,
and I want help.
Acceptance is the first stage behind it.
That's right.
So for me to seek professional help, speak to a counsellor, Mr. Jeff Thompson. So if he'll ever listen to this, but massive help to me. I reached out to him, went through several months of counselling. And when people think of counselling, they think, oh, he must be crazy. Oh, there must be something wrong with him. Now, that isn't the case at all. The fact is, at the time, I just needed a bit of guidance. I needed some support. And without that support, I have to say something. I don't know what might have happened if I hadn't done anything.
When you come to that level, you're at a burnout level.
Yeah.
And, your body is a machine, but the machine needs to rest.
Yeah.
And at that burnout level, sometimes you need to say, somebody say, whoa, take time.
Calm down.
And at the end of the day, we're not like a metal thing, that a machine that keeps on going and going. There is got to be some me time. But for you to come to that realization, it's not easy, is it?
It's not easy. It's not easy at all, and to say to yourself, right, I have to do something about this, is very, very difficult. But when you're in that situation, when you're then getting the help, it's just it's almost like it's like flipping a coin. Once you've started the process, you think, right, you're in it now. And there's I don't want to say old phrase, but there's a very common phrase which says, I think it's like, you've got to be, I think a minute, you've got to be a minute to win it. So the first minute is the most difficult part. Once you get past that 60 seconds, it's like, right, I'm in there now. I can't go back.
You're,
this is it now, you know.
You're at that pinnacle point in your life that you made that decision, and there's no turning back.
No.
And that is that key.
There's no
decision.
turning back, and people always look for quick answers, quick solutions. Oh, like, okay, this isn't working. You've got to give it time, because if you spent all those years feeling anxious, depressed, you've had episodes or whatever, you got to think, okay, like, this is going to take time. But then you see progress, and the first sign of progress after the acceptance in my eyes was, oh, I've started to understand certain things. You know, this is why I was anxious. This is why I was getting angry. This is why I wasn't happy with where I am. And then all of a sudden you break it down, and then stage by stage it's like, right, okay, I'm going to tackle this now. And the first time you feel as if, okay, something's happening. There's a shift, and that's a big point here, guys. You know, like everyone listening, is you have to feel that shift. And once you feel that shift, that is a sign of progress.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just go back to some of our comments. Simone has said, Sarah, yes, I'm right there with you. So proud of you, Zoe, for talking about this, and I love it, and it's so brave. Asking for help is a strong thing, but you can do it, and it's a good job. Vikash has said, agree with Sarah, it's important to reach out and get help. I hope the media highlights the importance of help. Us Desi boys need to reach out when the help is required. And as Vikash says, yes, us Desi boys, us Punjabi boys, us Kashmiri boys, us Pakistani boys, we have the macho man to say, no, I don't break down, there's nothing wrong with me. But deep down, we suffer in silence, and we... You know, what, a man breaking down and crying for help, it's not a done thing, especially in, well, any community, but especially in our Asian community. And one of these things is that the fact that the cry for help isn't that you're any weaker or any inferior person. It's for the betterment of yourself, but more importantly, those people who are around you. And if those people who are around you notice some abnormal behavior about you, they started making comments and what have you, and if one of them comes forward, just take that guidance, because that is possibly the best thing that somebody can offer you as part of your extended friends network, or whether it's your friends network or whether it's your employee network. Networking is a massively important tool, and I know we talked about brand and brand image earlier on, but you know, people do not understand the power of networking and how important that is for issues like today, like mental health.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say the comments that you've had there. So Sarah, Vikash and Simone, I all met them through networking. And you see, the word networking itself, I think people have a little bit of a negative stigma around it. It's got a negative connotation because people think networking is almost like door-to-door selling, for example.
Yeah.
They think networking is a con, a scam. You know, people who just like, you know, quick rich schemes and all these like affiliate sort of things that people do. But networking, in terms of how you can necessarily grow your network, but networking in terms of, number one, it's a skill. So I'd advise anybody to try networking because you can't really lose anything from it. Even if you just go to one networking meeting, you're not going to lose anything. You can only gain something from it. But number two, networking in terms of how you can build your or a community, which is what I've been doing over the last year with the help of Sarah English. Little shout out for Sarah, who helps run one of my networking meetings during the week. So because we've actually spent the time, well, I've spent the time doing that. And again, networking was new to me. There was a time when I never networked. I'd never been to a networking meeting, but all of a sudden, the idea of networking just became an everyday thing. It just became something that I wanted to do. I enjoyed it. I loved connecting with people. I loved meeting new people. But you also have to have a matter of, you've got to be open-minded towards it. You can't go in with the attitude of selling. You can't go in with the attitude of, oh, there's no result from this. You've got to be patient, you've got to give it time, but once you see it working, it honestly becomes such a powerful thing. It really does.
And you know, networking, whether you network with your immediate family, with your friends, with your extended family, with your work colleagues, I know how powerful that is. And sometimes what you don't realize is networking with your professional colleagues, you spend most of your life with them because, if you're out working or what have you, you're already in that group structure.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
And some of those individuals will see your behaviours more than your family at home because, as I said, if you spend 7, 8... I mean, I know the last 18 months have been strange because we've been in a lockdown situation, but generally you spend more time with your work colleagues than you probably spend with your immediate family.
Yeah.
And if any one of those can see your attitudes and your social behaviour, what have you, I know personally... people have learned, I've learned a lot from networking, people have learned a lot from me as well, but more importantly, I'm always learning through networking, and it's such a powerful community to be part of, but obviously you give to the party, but you gain from the party as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes with mental health issues, you may not want to talk about it back at home, because you think, there's a stigma attached to it, especially in my extended family environment or extended, even my immediate family environment. But then you talk to people who you work with and you think, well, I know somebody who knows somebody, and because of this, do you mind if I put you in touch with somebody?
Yeah.
And just because of those personal life experience, like Sarah mentioned, makes a massive, massive difference, because you are learning from an experience that I can't pick up from a textbook.
Yeah.
I'm learning from somebody who's gone through that, and I know many a times I've spoken to people about certain topics, and while I'm not an expert on those topics, because I've been through those in my personal life, and I've always given those examples to people, you gain a lot.
Yeah.
And some of these mental illnesses are like managing a chronic disease, and sometimes you feel that you could get on top of it, and it's just too much, and the cry for help is like the nth point, and when you don't want to cry for help, you lock yourself away. You don't want to be involved. What's your guidance to people who are in that situation?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to point out that if you are in that situation where everything is getting too much, you feel overwhelmed, you're not sure if there's a way out, you're not sure what to do, I think the biggest thing that you can do is reach out to one person to begin with. So you don't need to pressure yourself and think, I need to get back to my usual self. I need to go into a room of people and do networking. First of all, I'd say don't pressure yourself. Just take a step back and think, do you know what, that there is a way forward, but there are steps in terms of how you're going to move forward. So the first step I'd say to people is reach out to somebody, just like I did. Reach out to somebody, and that it doesn't have to be a professional person. It can be a loved one, it can be a partner, it can be a close friend, but somebody who's going to give you the time and also compassion to listen to what you're going to say. And hopefully they can help, and hopefully they can give you some perspective and give you some advice. But if they can't help, then seek professional help. See what that can do for you, because at the end of the day, it's if one person can't help, there's always other people as well that can offer their support. So the biggest advice I can say to people is definitely reach out to somebody, because isolating yourself and being in that mode of like, I better not talk to anybody, I better close myself off, I better just stay in my room, stay quiet at work, it's only gonna get worse. So
it's quite interesting you mentioned that. A thought went through my mind. A very close friend of mine, about 15 years ago, was going through difficult circumstances, and we literally became from a recruiting manager to a team manager, suddenly became a very good friend of mine, and I'm still in touch with that individual. And this individual, I'm using the plural for obvious reasons, this individual made a comment on social media to say, I'm very fulfilled with my life now, I'm very happy. However, 10 to 15 years ago, I went through a very, very difficult patch. And there were certain individuals in my life who are still part of my life, and without you, I wouldn't be here. And I read that thread and I thought, okay. So I sent a personal message back to the individual, and the individual said, yeah, it was you. And I thought, you know what? I didn't do anything. And the individual gave me a list of things, and you'd be surprised how many of those things that I did, when that individual reached out to me, I did it as a friend. I didn't think of anything else. And I wanted to make sure that my friend did not suffer in silence. And yet, almost 20 years later, we're still the best of friends. So that's the guidance I always give to people: is it doesn't cost anything
Absolutely.
to give somebody your time.
No.
But more importantly, people remember what you deliver.
Yeah.
People remember, and whether it's the power of networking, whatever you do, but more importantly is if you are listening ear for somebody for an hour a week, you're probably the only person they've spoken to for the last week, and said certain things outside their immediate family. And maybe whatever you've done is the fact that you've given that individual the opportunity to say whatever they want to say, get it off their chest. And the fact that you are listening to whatever they are saying, you don't realize how valuable that is. But people don't realize that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And I think just to sort of pick up on that fact there, and I just want to create a bit of a parallel here between networking and, if you're sharing sensitive information with a close friend or or a loved one. I think there's an element here of giving without receiving,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
And that's the premise of networking, where you want to refer somebody, you want to refer somebody's services to somebody else, but you're not expecting anything back. And I've always been like that, where if I know somebody is skilled at something and someone's better than me at something, I'll say, right, okay, so I'll refer X to Y because they can do that job better than me. But I won't expect them to give anything back, because I'm just doing what I think is right in that moment, without thinking, if I've given that person a referral, I better get something back from it. And I don't think that's ethical. I don't think that's right, because you should be doing it just out of the goodness of your heart. You should be doing it because you want to help other people. But if you do get something back from it, great. But that person, they will remember it. And if you've done if that person's done a good job for your referral, that referral will remember it. So there's always a value add, and there's always a way that it will come back to you, but don't force it. And I think that's the advice I'd give people. If anyone wants to get into networking, if anyone wants to share something with other people, don't do it without with thinking, I hope I get something back, because you should just do it because you want to do it.
Well, some of the work we do out in the community as volunteers, we always give our time to the community, whether we're networking or whether we are going around on a Sunday afternoon litter picking. You don't realise even my litter picking crew is a networking crew, and you don't realise what we talk about while we're going around picking litter. But the fact is, we're going around picking litter on a Sunday afternoon around the streets of Saltley. That individual may say certain things which will just get them off their chest and whatever you, and they go back home fulfilled, and you don't realise how much that could be a weight off somebody's shoulder. And as part of doing that, they enjoy the fact they've done something good by cleaning somebody's street or whatever. Furthermore, I can give you other examples whereby somebody who I was talking to earlier on this week was the fact of some guidance about looking for employment opportunities and looking at various areas for training and what have you. And I obviously don't want anything back in return, but for me, my value back will be to see that individual succeed and to see that individual fulfill their own potential. And I'm happy with that. And if I can see somebody go up the ladder and achieve full-time employment, then I've achieved my goal. So you are right. You don't expect to have something in return. And if you feel that you've done something good, then you get a satisfaction that you've helped somebody
absolutely.
along that way.
Yeah, that's it.
And then what you don't realise is by doing that, you may be suffering from anxiety and stress yourself, but the fact that you've helped somebody is a feel-good factor for yourself.
Yeah.
And suddenly your endorphins go through the roof. And the fact is, people don't realise that. And that's such a positive message out there. But unfortunately, nowadays in this commercial world, I don't want to do anything for anybody. Well, what's in it for me? What are you going to do for me?
Yeah.
And, we've got to move away from that type of network.
No, we absolutely do. And I just want to acknowledge something here. And people who know me closely, whether it's family and friends, they will know that I'm a big advocate and a big fan of Mr. Bruce Lee. The famous martial artist.
Martial arts.
To me, he's a lot more than a martial artist. I mean, he's my idol. He's my role model. And there's something that he said once in an interview where he said, it's very difficult to honestly express yourself. And the meaning behind that, what I took away from that was, it's very hard as human beings for us to be the person that we want to be.
That's right.
Because we can say, well, I'm active, I'm sporty, I'm entertaining, I'm this and I'm that. But is that who we want to be?
Yeah.
Or is that who we're trying to be? And I think when it comes to things like passing referrals, when it comes to things like networking, when it comes to things like community, again, you know what I mean? Are you trying to be somebody, or are you actually trying to be somebody of value? So the reward for me is never monetary. It should always be a sense of satisfaction, a sense of reward, and nothing else. But if there's a monetary reward that happens from it, great. You know what I mean? But it's, to be yourself in that moment, I think is the most important thing.
For me, it's always been when I'm doing some work in the community to say, if I can help and support somebody to solve their problem or guide them on the right path to their problem, I've achieved my bit in society. I don't expect anything in return, and I always put it down to the Almighty will reward me accordingly. And I don't do anything in my voluntary work where I expect something in return. But unfortunately, there are certain individuals who feel that money to return is the only thing that people do.
Yes.
And, good luck to them, and may they flourish and may they prosper. But there are those people in society, and especially in our Muslim world, Islamic faith teaches us to give something with your right hand that your left hand doesn't know what you're doing. And if I can help and support somebody and guide them somebody, that's it. I don't need to keep on repeating myself to say it was me because you got that job. And some of it, especially in the commercial world, and some of it in the recruiting world, some of it you'd be surprised how powerful it is that when I'm when you're interviewing people and you look at people's CVs and you said, you work for this company. Right, not a problem. I know somebody. Let's pick up the phone and says, such and such, do you know about this? So, and then, you form an opinion. And that is another form of networking. And you'll be surprised how powerful somebody's opinion of somebody is. And I know certain times when, I personally have gone for interviews and I've come out of that interview and I think, God, they gave me a hard time over that one. Right? But long and behold, they've already been in touch with certain individuals who know me, and they've obviously made comments, and they've made their mind up, but they just want to grill me and put me through the mill. And this is where people don't understand how important networking is.
No, and I said, if there's one thing that I think I could have done when I was younger is maybe got into networking a little bit sooner, because I got into it when I first started my business around about 4 years ago, just over 4 years ago. But to me, I think if I'd got into it a little bit quicker, just to learn how it works, first of all, what are the benefits of it, what can I gain from it, and that's just more from a skill set point of view, nothing to do with business, nothing to do with clients, just what is networking, how can it work for me, okay, if it's not for me, could it benefit somebody else? So you're almost networking to network to help someone else network.
It's like what we were talking about with mental health illness. I mean, I could be suffering with anxiety and depression, but the fact is I've gone down that networking route and I'm paired with somebody who I don't know that I met through the networking group. And that could be my saviour. That individual has got an hour to listen to me every week or every day. I have got an hour to listen to them. And just because of that route, I've come off my antidepressants and my antipsychotic tablets and all that stuff. And you don't realise how powerful something like that is.
Yeah, it's absolutely powerful. And you know, in a world where we live in social media, where everything is on Facebook, Instagram, and all these different channels, you know, everyone's become so used to connecting with people virtually. But why don't you actually try and connect with people face to face? It's such a powerful skill, you know, and the experiences I've had when I've connected with people face to face and spoken to them in person, it's been a lot more powerful than speaking to them on WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Instagram message, you know, Zoom. You know, I think everyone's been used to virtual conferencing over the last 18 months.
Unfortunately, for the last 18 months,
you know,
Microsoft Teams, WebEx, Zoom has been our life. But we're in the lockdown situation, so that's the best we can do. But, you know, I know many people that I personally deal with. Whilst it's been a godsend to have this type of facility and what have you, in one ways they are pleased because we talk about certain things that they probably wouldn't talk about in the work environment. Even though we're in a separate office, they wouldn't talk about it because of the fact that there may be other people listening.
Yes.
So in the confines of their own home, we talk about certain issues and what have you. Whereas for well knowing there's nobody else around them. But I still feel that personal face-to-face, nothing beats it.
It's unbeatable. No, it is. It's absolutely unbeatable. You know, and I think if there's two sides to this, really. So last year, you know, I started a podcast called The Zoe Show, which is available on Facebook and through the platforms. And I also started a networking platform, an online networking platform called In The Zone Business Networking, which is where, you know, individuals such as Sarah hosts a meeting on a Thursday at 12 p.m, noon, which I can share afterwards in the comments. Vikash, Simone, I met through that. Vikash and I worked in the same office, but he, in the same office building, he was situated on the opposite side of the corridor from me. But when he found out that I was doing online networking, he said, "Oh, give me the invite."
Oh, bless
and he came every week and he was very dedicated to it, you know, so a little thank you to Vikash there. Simone, all the way from Denmark, you know, never met her before, met her through somebody else. She attended my networking. She then created her own and attends others, and we're still in touch. We're still good friends.
What social media has done is this networking has given us a global market thanks to the power of social media.
Yeah, the reach
so
is amazing.
as you're saying, the likes of Simone, you know, we would have been likely to have met her face to face. But the fact is, you know, the power of the internet has been so phenomenal in the last 18 months.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can reach to the other side of the world, regardless of whatever time zones they are.
Yeah.
And it's really, really bizarre that it's a form of communication. Had it not been in lockdown, you know, we were used to Virgin Media conferencing, BT conferencing, but that was it. But that was only with senior directors and senior FDs at corporate level. Whereas now, you know, I myself talk to people around the world and I'm thinking, I wouldn't have done that before.
No, absolutely. And, you know, when I first started my podcast 18 months ago, I've done 55 episodes since then. You know, I do a shorter version of it now, which is called Off Script. But I interviewed people from Australia, Mexico, America, you know, like South America, Florida. It was just all over. You know, I interviewed somebody who used to be a contestant on The Apprentice. You know, for a few years ago. Again, I started my networking platform, which is, I mean, they're both running to this day. Now, I don't think I would have started those things if it hadn't been for the lockdown, because in the moments where you're thinking, what do I do?
Yeah.
It's either thrive or survive. So what do? You know, and this kind of comes back to, again, I'm creating parallels here for people who are listening, I'm creating the parallel of whether it's anxiety, depression, mental health, lockdown, your business, your career. You know, the point I'm making here is that there should never be a dead end. There should never be a kind of like, I can't do anything about it. There should always be a solution.
Well, Sarah's just made a comment that you forced her out of her comfort zone by running a network group and doing live interviews, and I do them all the time, and it was the best thing I've ever done. But unless you force somebody to come out of their comfort zone, and sometimes going back to what we started off with our conversation in the beginning, if I'm suffering from mental health, anxiety and depression, you've pulled me out of my comfort zone, you've put me out of it, and then what you don't realize is the fact that you've done this. And when I'm suffering from that type of illness, I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to switch off from the outside world. I don't want to see anybody. But when I'm in the confines of my room and I'm talking to the world, effectively, that is another way of treating somebody who is suffering from that. And you don't realize that doesn't take any type of serious medication or whatever.
No.
A bit of a laughter, a bit of a joke with somebody on the other side of the world. Talking about the time zones, talking about the weather. We British have a lovely conversation with everybody we talk to and say, right, where are you? What's the weather like there? Or whatever. What time zone you're on and whatever. And that gets the conversation going. The fact that you're talking to somebody, you are suddenly overcoming their anxieties, overcoming their depression, overcoming their fears, that hidden mental illness that they had. If they come out of their little confined area, suddenly all that becomes really powerful.
Yeah, it's astronomical, the impact that you can have on somebody. And the reason I do it, or the reason I've done it, isn't just to help that person. It's because I've also been inspired by people. Yeah. People have taken me at that situation, and if I can just credit somebody for a second, I want to credit Bilal Jamil, who is my mentor. He's all the way up in Sheffield. I say all the way up in Sheffield. It's not that far really, but Bilal Jamil, I met about 4 years ago. He's my public speaking trainer. He's my business mentor. And when I first saw him speak at an event, I was absolutely blown away, to the point where I thought, right, I want to be like that. I don't want to be him, but I wanted to emulate, and I wanted to almost, the attributes that I saw, which I thought, right, I want to take some of that.
So basically,
I want some of that.
You saw somebody and you said, right, I aspire to be that individual. And let's give you an analogy of Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously, I'm nowhere near that league. This rally is probably closer to that than they'd be. But you see somebody like that, a world-class football player, decided to come back to the UK, and inshallah they will make some move with the Red Devils this year. And the where they are going, if they can keep that up, somebody like him. People aspire to him, and people, suddenly there'll be the younger generation will look up to him to say, yes, he's back in the UK again. They want to take up football, they want to take physical activities, and suddenly, as we are out of lockdown with local restrictions or temporary hidden restrictions, people will flourish well, their health and well-being will get better, and that's what it's all about, being outdoors, going out, mixing with people. We're coming up to the closing remarks of our program. I didn't realise how quickly we can carry on, probably another for an hour, but my colleague has just come here for his part of the show, so I don't really want to go in too much of his time. And again, Sarah, Simone, they're laughing and joking, say, the British love talking about the weather. We love our weather, we love our climate, and just for everybody out around the world, it's just coming up to a minute to 9 o'clock in the evening, and it was raining when I came here this evening, and it has gone cold again, and we put our central heating back on again. So there you are, we talked about the weather. One final closing remarks, and we'll say goodbye to you, Zoe.
As I said, I just want to firstly thank everyone at Radio Aapki Awaaz, yourself, Amin, and Mr. Ali as well, who's not here today. But as I said, thanks for the opportunity. But also just want to say, if people want to reach out to me, whether it's anything that I've discussed regarding mental health, my podcasting, my networking, if people just want to ask a question or get in touch with me, You can contact me on Facebook, Instagram. Just get in touch with me. I'll be happy to have a conversation with people. And just one final shout out to Mr. Cameron Salim, who is he's my boss. I work for a company called MotorServe in Solihull. So I just want to say a big thank you to him, because I met him through networking 2 years ago at an event, and the relationship that we've developed in the last 2 years has been absolutely brilliant. And there's an example here of how networking can work, where this is somebody who I never met him at an event, did my research, by the way, before I met him, which I think is really important. And then he's become a friend, he's become my manager, and he's done a lot for me recently, so, and again, I've given a few shout outs there, but again, it's been wonderful.
Thank you very much. Viewers and listeners, thank you very much for viewing my program. Final closing remarks. Sarah, Simone, really appreciate you taking part, and no doubt you'll be part of my network now. So, Vikash, thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much for watching, listening in to the Community Health Show. Until next week, Mr. Ali will be back to cover this slot again next week. Thank you and goodbye.
Radio Aapki Awaaz on www.aapkiawaaz.co.uk